Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome into the weekly Flurry Sports Fantasy Football Start Sit Show. Henry John, pumped to be with you guys this week. Down here, somewhere hanging out in Maryland. I'm not going to disclose where. I don't need anybody knocking on the truck doors tonight. But hey, it's pretty cool that I get to be like a traveling roadshow here for a hot minute. Joined by my partner in crime on many shows over the years, Mr. Zach McAdoo. Zach, how are you doing? I know it's a big night for you. How are we feeling? The Bills are playing. You're all decked out in gear. Are we nervous? Are we stressed? Are we relaxed? What's the mood like here? Set the tone for us in the show.
Oh no, well, it was feeling good that I just looked up and saw scattered thunderstorms for in Miami right now, so that's good. That's not great. I mean,
Hmm.
I want to feel all right, but after the first half of the Cardinals game, you don't know. It's just a mystery of what Bills team you're going to get now. New pieces, new places, but we will see.
That is very true. But hey, um, a lot of kind of moving parts, I think, especially for the Dolphins in this game from a fantasy football standpoint. The backfield news has been here, there, everywhere. Did you see right before we hopped on, Devon Achane looks like he's going to go now. And that was a guy that looked like he was trending in the wrong direction as of yesterday and even kind of this morning. So Raheem Mostert's supposed to be out. I saw a meme of Jeff Wilson Jr. sniping down all three of the other Miami backs that are supposed to be better than him so he can get playing time. Um, man, it should be interesting tonight. Do you have anyone specific that you have your eye on? Boom, bust, anything. We can jump right into this game here. And of course, you guys feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We will answer them as they come in
So,
throughout the show.
I
What do you
mean,
think about this Thursday game?
we'll just get right into the article with stardom sit tight ends because there's a guy in this game tonight that I have on there, and I have a sit for Dalton Kincaid. So the fantasy
Oh,
darling, the guy I honestly said before the year he's
okay.
probably going to be the Bills' leading receiver, probably the Bills' Travis Kelce. And then I saw a stat this week. He has, I think it's like 11 points around there per game, fantasy points per game when Dawson Knox is out. With Knox, he's only about maybe 5-6 points. Dawson Knox is active today. I am sitting Dalton Kincaid, the wrong DK bro, this week.
Okay. Dalton Kincaid, somebody that generated a lot of hype in the offseason, coming into this year. Since you brought up the tight ends article, I guess we could start there. Um, those who want to dive into these articles more, read everything that McAdoo had to say about the receivers and tight ends and also the stuff I put together on the running backs. Head on over to flurrysports.org. That's where you can find all that and plenty more week 2 fantasy football advice and advice all season long. You got Zach Bruner's rankings, you got all kinds of stuff over there. Waiver wire pickup, streamers each week. How about this tight end article? You have Dalton Kincaid as one of the sits. He's the poster boy of the article. You just talked about that. So you are not buying into the hype that he is really going to take on that tight end one, be that guy for the Bills, I guess. You still think Dawson Knox is going to have more of a role here? That's not shifting for you, which I'm all for. Like Dawson Knox, Ole Miss, that's my guy. But I love me some Kincaid too. So that's an
I
interesting
have a
point you have
Dawson
there.
Knox jersey back there. Do I? It might have been a need to be watched. I love Dawson Knox. I've loved Dawson Knox since week 3 of his rookie season. If you go back to his to the game against the Bengals when he just absolutely stiff armed the hell out of someone, like I think Tom McCarthy said, barrel through another guy. He's just smash mouth football all the way. And I still think he's tight end 1 for now. Kincaid might be coming for that. Obviously, we've seen Bills fans and the Bills organization is high on him. But as of right now, it's just we haven't seen it yet. 1 reception for 11 yards last week. I think it was on 4 targets, something like that. It might have been only on 1. I don't remember. Probably confusing my stats with all the things that we had to see. But it was not something you want to see out of your tight end.
Right, right. Before we jump into the article, we actually have a tight end question here in the chat. So we can answer that one first. XBKBX has a couple of questions. We'll jump in with the tight end one since we're on that bandwagon here. He is asking Juwan Johnson or Colby Parkinson in week 2. Last week, Juwan Johnson actually finished as the tight end 5 in PPR scoring for the Saints. Of course, that was a blowout game against the Panthers. So, how will that differ or ebb and flow as the Saints take on the Cowboys this week? Meanwhile, Colby Parkinson and the Rams take on the Arizona Cardinals. Not necessarily somebody that you're jumping out at as far as a fantasy, reliable fantasy starter. However, with Tyler Higbee currently not in the mix, Puka Nakua is out for the Rams here for the next month. So the pass catchers are already thinning there. It seems like the Rams can't, they get injuries every single year to these receivers, as many of them as they have. But what are you thinking here, Zach? Juwan Johnson or Colby
So
Parkinson?
that Dallas Cowboys defense is just, from what we saw week 1, it's insane so far. Combine that with the fact that I think the Saints might have been a little overhyped, and as you saw in the Flurry Sports Dynasty, I was able to trade away Derek Carr for a third-round pick. So I shouldn't say get rid of him while you can, because they're obviously going to have another game against the Panthers, but I mean, you got to still hide them. I still have four of the quarterbacks that I had, but I'm just not high in the Saints against the Cowboys defense. I will take Colby Parkinson, which I actually picked up in another Dynasty League, dropped Johnny Smith this week. I'm going the Ram over the Saint.
I'm fully with you here. I don't know that it's necessarily a Cowboys defense thing for me. Like, Deshaun Watson is who Deshaun Watson is. The Browns' offensive line's a mess. I think there were other factors there in that game. So I'm not fully like all in on this Cowboys defense just yet. But as long as Higbee's out, Puka's out, definitely I would be going with Parkinson here. His other question was Kenneth Walker the third or Zach Charbonnet or Alexander Madison this week. Well, Walker the third and Charbonnet are both Seahawks against the Patriots. Is Walker dealing with an injury
Walker is missed practice yesterday. He's questionable as
Okay, he's still out of practice. So it would be a Seattle back or Alexander Madison. I don't know what to do with the Raiders backfield, to be completely honest with you right now. I think that's a kind of going to be a dead even timeshare mess. So if Walker's out, would you still roll with Charbonnet over Alexander Madison? Because if Walker plays, I mean, that's definitely the direction I'm going against New England. They don't necessarily scare me quite as much as they have in the past.
No, I think we need to see more of the Patriots defense. I don't know, was it an anomaly week 1, or was it just, or is this who they are? Are they going to be that good? Where are you? I'm probably still going to lean one of the Seattle backs. I'm going to wait and see. Obviously, you're starting Kenneth Walker,
absolutely,
if he's available, but I can't go with Madison yet. Maybe if they end up switching out of the Zamir White feature back and give it to Madison, but for right now, it's Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet.
Madison's a guy I think should be rostered, but like I say, I don't trust him. I don't even necessarily trust Zamir White beyond a flex right now. I think Madison could be a flex this week if, kind of in a desperate situation already in week 2. But if Walker's in, he's the play. If he's out, Charbonnet looked good filling in for him last week when he went down. So that's definitely the way I would go too. He mentioned he has Justice Hill as well. Justice Hill's another guy I want on my team. I think he's primed for a solid role week to week this year, especially as a pass catcher. I don't think the Ravens are going to necessarily use Derrick Henry in that way. So that would be the direction we go there, and you are most welcome, sir. Thank you for coming in and popping in and hanging out. Back to this tight end article, Zach. What do we got going on here? You have Tyler Conklin with the Jets is your other sit against the Titans. And then your starts. One of them, Isaiah Likely. I think that's a pretty solid call after what we saw him do last week. Do you think he's ever going to be that good again this year? Like, is that something we can expect again? Or was that the ceiling what are your expectations, I guess, for Likely going forward, and even this week, if you want to talk about it, as you
I
read
mean,
the
it all
article?
depends on what Andrews does. It, the reason why Isaiah Likely was out there as much is because Andrews had an injury. If I heard correctly, I don't know if this was true or not, because my friends were talking during the opening game. Did Mark Andrews get in a car accident and get injured? Is that what it was?
I
I,
didn't see this, but
maybe I'm wrong.
possibly.
That's what I thought I heard, but Isaiah Likely, yeah, it's just he went off last week. I think you ride the hot hand if you're Lamar Jackson, who we've seen as a run first quarterback, which I feel like the run first quarterbacks outside of maybe Josh Allen, Kyler Murray's starting to rely on Trey McBride more, but I think the run first quarterbacks look for the tight ends a lot more than usual, and so you got to take that one.
Talk to me about your other star player in this article, because this one's sneaky. Hayden Hurst with the Chargers against
This
the
is,
Panthers. You got Will Disley there. You got Donald Parham, I think, is still around with LA. And we know the Chargers want to run the football with Jim Harbaugh. So this is an interesting
okay, so
choice.
this might be a homer pick for me because I freaking love Hayden Hurst because his story. If you haven't read it yet, it's amazing. Go, the Falcons did it a couple years back. Look it up. Um, but Hayden Hurst, like, the, who are they? They're playing Panthers. Panthers were absolute dog water last week on both sides of the ball. Bryce Young got absolute. Okay, well, Bruner has did not confirmed the car accident was a month ago, but he was uninjured, so I don't know what happened with Andrews. But going back to Hayden Hurst, someone like that tight end spot for the scored a touchdown last week with Foster Moreau. I think Jawan Johnson got one too. So maybe start both the tight ends for the Chargers. Just throw them in there because the Panthers defense is absolute dog water, and they're just so bad that you're going to be able to. I think Herbert and this Chargers offense is going to take advantage of them.
Yeah, you said the Panthers were dog water last week. I think they're just dog water in general. That franchise has got issues. Uh, I followed up on that car accident with Mark Andrews too. It was like back mid August. I'll tell you what happened with Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely is a good player. That's just how it is, plain and simple. Like he is good. He can be more elusive. I think he's quicker. So the Ravens are going to have him involved. That's a team that doesn't have any surefire receivers, I would say, after Zay Flowers. So especially with the offensive line kind of being in shambles here, it looks like beginning of the year as they move stuff around, piece that together. Got some new guys in there, so I think Likely is going to be involved here going forward for sure. I would expect Andrews to be more involved, but um, you know, I'm definitely on board with Likely going
Pull
forward.
that up. Pull
Um,
that up.
Jack, it's been a minute. I haven't. There's that for you, folks. Um, don't think I would either. Something going on down there in Charlotte, and it's not good. Jackson Taylor is in the chat. We got another question here back and do. He needs to start 3 of these running backs in a full PPR league. Devon Achane tonight's game, so pertinent for Thursday Night Football against the Bills. Devon Achane is a go for those who may have missed that news. Raheem Mostert is not. Achane went off last week. Will he again? He was banged up coming into this game. Short turnaround, we'll see. Kenneth Walker, we already discussed, kind of his injury situation heading into the Seahawks game against the Patriots. Jordan Mason, who all of a sudden today I'm seeing that Christian McCaffrey says he's good to go for week 2. I don't think that's going to be a full workload by any means. I don't know why the 49ers wouldn't be cautious with him if he does play. And then Derrick Henry with the Ravens. Jordan Mason and the 49ers, they are going up against the Vikings. And then Derrick Henry and the Ravens are at home to the Raiders. We need to start 3 of these, Zach. So who is going to be the odd man out for you?
So obviously, starting Mason and Henry, I feel like with McCaffrey's injury, like you said, they're going to be very cautious about the Achilles tendonitis, if that's how you pronounce. Um, and it's supposed to be like
Tendonitis, good job. Big word for
a
you, I know.
month to 2 month injury, and it's only been a month. So I don't think he's going to get all the the carries or the snaps he's used to yet. I think they're going to try to wean him back into the lineup, and so that's going to be more for Jordan Mason for right now. Going forward, you might want to ditch him before it's too late because they're going to have obviously McCaffrey's going to come back, Elijah Mitchell's going to be back, and he's going to be relegated to RB3. But for right now, you have to use him. As for the last one, let me look here because is Achane getting a full load tonight? Giggity.
That's that's always the concern with Dolphins backs, right? Like they have 4 or 5 of them every single year. Raheem Mostert's out tonight, but you're still going to have Jeff Wilson vying for touches behind him, and even the new rookie. So that's that's the question. I don't know that I can steer away from Achane, assuming he's leading that backfield tonight, though. Like he has to be in there.
I'm going to
Do you
go.
agree?
Here's my reasoning. I'm going to go Achane over Walker. Achane's active. Walker still has the chance to be inactive. So that if you start Achane, you know you're going to have at least some snaps in there. With Walker, he could just pull a goose egg because he's inactive. So I think Achane's safer only for that fact.
Um, I'm fully in on Achane and Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's actually one of the guys I wrote up in the running back start sit article as a start over on FLURRYSports.org. So those two lock them in for me. It comes down to Walker and Derrick Henry. I think if Kenneth Walker's a go, um, I might go that direction. Um, I want to trust Derrick Henry. The Raiders' defensive front is good. Uh, I want to trust Kenneth Walker. Normally I would, but with the injury designation, how does that eat into his workload? To your point, the good news is both those games kick off on Sunday at the same time, so it's not like you're going to be ebbing and flowing with like Walker may play, may not, because the Seahawks are playing on the East Coast this week in New England. I think if Walker's healthy, that's the direction I would go. And as crazy as it sounds, I would sit Derrick Henry. Words that almost pain me to say, but what are you going to do? Another question here. It looks like we're going to talk some Superflex trade here. Just completed. We've got Jaden Reed, Caleb Williams for Baker Mayfield. He has Jalen Hurts and Michael Penix. How did MF Doom RIP do?
So he traded away Baker.
I believe he traded away Jaden Reed and Caleb Williams for Baker Mayfield. It's a super flex.
I don't know.
I'll say in a vacuum, it's tough. Like, I kind of wonder what the receivers look like that you were cool with trading away Jaden Reed. I love Baker Mayfield. I'm definitely like the dude proved it all last year. He finished as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, picked up right where he left off last week. So I am fully positive on Baker Mayfield. I don't see that necessarily slowing down this year at all. I know the Commanders are not a good outfit, but I really think Baker's found a home down there in Tampa. My concern is what does the rest of your team look like? And Michael Penix Jr., the only way he's going to be valuable to you in a super flex redraft is if Kirk Cousins gets hurt or just cannot move around to the point where they have to make a switch there. So those are my concerns looking at that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just if he's given up Baker, I think it's a good trade. If he's the one getting Jaden Reed and Caleb, I think it's a good trade. If you're just getting Baker back, I think it's tough to justify because I think you're going up for 1 week, but it's just tough to swallow off of that. But going on to more Baker stuff, I think the Browns are realizing, like Dirty Dom Mysterio bringing it in WWE, they chose the
My
wrong
guy.
person. Yeah, go support a used dude wipe. Just you support a stupid ass used dude wipe that has a fucking brown shit stain on it.
Sucio! Oh, man. Um, yeah, I think I would have liked to get something else back in that. I don't think Caleb Williams and the Bears offense is going to be as good as it was or hyped up to be in the offseason until that offensive line gets its act together. And who knows when that happens. But I might have wanted to get something with Baker. I understand, the appeal to have two starting quarterbacks in a super flex. So I'm not going to kill it. But I sure hope you have some good receivers that you were okay with throwing Jaden Reed in there as well. So that's what I'll say about that. We have Spubsy on YouTube dropping in here. Hello, PPR League. He lost Puka. Malik Neighbors has a knee injury. His wide receiver room is falling apart. I know the feeling. Do I trade Patrick Mahomes for Joe Burrow and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Hmm.
I mean,
It's interesting. I feel like you have some thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr. because I read your wide receivers article.
and I wrote that before the
So,
comments were made yesterday too. So who knew what was going to happen? But I mean, after the comments made yesterday with both Kyler Murray and MHJ, I don't know that you want Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. I mean, Sunday he had one catch for 4 yards, only had 3 targets, maybe if that. Um, it's just I think there should be better wide receivers in free agency for you right now. I'm sure Matt Collins is probably there. Kelly Shakur is probably gone. I'm surprised Curtis Samuel. I don't know if he had a target last week, but he did. He did. My bad. He did have at least one catch. So maybe he gets utilized more as the year progresses because he still has to get used to the playbook. But I just don't like that trade. I think you need to keep Mahomes because MHJ is not it as of right now.
well, here's my other question. Are we sure Joe Burrow is fully recovered from his wrist deal? With that video of him still flexing the wrist and all that? Or is that going to be a deal where he suddenly slides out of the lineup eventually because all of a sudden that's acting up on him and he's got to miss a couple games? So I don't know. I also have that concern looking at it. I think Patrick Mahomes is primed for, we're talking 2-3 years ago, the fat pat numbers that he used to put up. It's not going to be like last year. The Chiefs just have too many weapons. So I might try and, if I'm going to trade him away, I might try and be a little more aggressive with what I bring back, especially when the receiver room is the concern. We're talking about Harrison Jr. here. Those are my thoughts. Does that make
Yeah, and
sense?
let me add on. Was this Burrow's 5th year in the league?
It came out in 2020. So
He's had 4 prior seasons to 2020, 21, 21, 22, 23. Yes, and he's only finished 2 of them. So he has a 50% completion rate on years past. You got to wonder if there is some injury proneness to there, if that makes sense.
the other thing I'll say too is Neighbors was limited in practice. So I wouldn't necessarily rule him out just yet based on what I just pulled up quickly and was reading for this week. So scour the waiver wire too. See what depth you can add. If you lost Puka, can you go get a Tyler Johnson? Can you go get a Demarcus Robinson? Guys like that. The Rams should be just fine through the air this week and against Arizona. That defense I fully expect to be a sieve this year, unless you're the Bills in the first half of the first game of the season. But I digress. Good question.
I don't know what he linked in here. I'm afraid to click it.
I mean, best waiver wire wide receiver for Spubsy is A.D. Mitchell. Pretty deep league. Fully get that too. Maybe if you can pick him up and get some more depth going, that might be something to look into. If you can pick, like I say, if you can find one of those 2 Rams guys behind Puka, that might be a case where you could throw one into a flex and kind of just live with it. Definitely don't panic trade too, though. That's some general advice I just want to throw out there. It's week 2. Like, it's a long season. Guys might be missing games here now. I feel like in general, week 1, it was kind of interesting to me how many players, prominent players, like big names, Russell Wilson, T. Higgins. I know Jamar Chase was for different reasons, but guys missing games. McCaffrey, even on Monday night. Um, Normally, you think rolling into the season, everybody's healthy, ready to go. Um, I get it's a long year. I get teams might be cautious with some of these guys. Like, will the Giants be cautious with neighbors? We don't know right now. But it's only week 2. I know you don't want to fall too far behind the 8 ball, but I would just, try to hang in there. So I had an awful week 1 myself, and just kind of gotta stick with the process. When things don't go quite your way right out of the gates.
Did you play against Jake Moody
Um,
like I did?
I don't think I played against Jake Moody. I went against Tyreek, but anyways, I don't even know what this is, or if I'm
I
allowed
tried
to
clicking
click
on it.
on
It
this
would
and
not.
bring it up.
It would.
I feel like it's a
It
trap.
would not pull up.
It might be a
I
porno. I
don't think
don't
there's
know.
porn on
Um,
YouTube.com. Granted, I could be wrong, but I don't think that they're going to allow that on there.
it could be a deal where it just says YouTube in the link, and it's something completely different. So I don't want to get blackmailed here off the show. Let's talk while we wait for more questions to come in. We can dive into the running back start sit article that I wrote. We talked about Jordan Mason with one of those questions. I have him down as a start. I don't really care what McCaffrey's status is this weekend, Zach. I'm starting Jordan Mason because even if McCaffrey suits up and goes, which um, anyways, even if McCaffrey suits up and goes, I like Mason to handle the lion's share of the work out of that backfield. Rappaport suggested yesterday that McCaffrey's a long shot. Um, I'm gonna trust that regardless of what he says. And the Niners may full well give him another week to get healthy and in a better spot. This is why we just burst out laughing for anyone who's wondering why we just sat here like 2 dorks for 10 seconds. Um, so I have Jordan Mason as a start. My other start is Tony Pollard with the Titans going up against the Jets. Um, I talked about this in the article. He thoroughly outsnapped and outtouched Tyjae Spears last week in that backfield. I know Brian Callahan after the game talked about wanting to even that workload out going forward a bit more. Um, they're going up against the Jets, and for all the hype around the Jets defense, they are not good against the run. Jordan Mason just gashed them last week. Last year, they were not good. They allowed the 7th most PPR points to opposing running backs. So I think if you're, kind of on the fence with Pollard and somebody else as your RB2 or something this week, throw Pollard in there. I think the Titans are going to be motivated to bounce back after the collapse last week. I don't think Will Levis is going to have much success airing it out against the Jets. So it's going to be, kind of trying to play ball control and whatnot. So I do like Pollard this week. It's kind of a sneaky, maybe a contrarian look against that Jets defense. What do you think about those two guys
So I
backing you?
think you need to be cautious with Jordan Mason, and I should have realized this earlier. The Niners are 0-8 in Minnesota since 1992. So that not that that matters. It's just that they could be playing from behind against Minnesota. So let's just. It's just one of those weird stats, like how the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2013, something like that. It's been a while for them. It just it's one of those weird stats that you always have to pull out and be like, hey, this is way new. Like it's just that. So I do like Jordan Mason still. I still think he has some passing down upgrade to not upgrade but like upside to him. So it's not a bad play. And then Tony Pollard, I do like Pollard. Regardless if he's on Cowboys or Titans, I think he's still good back.
Cool deal. Before we get to the running back sits, Liam Williams on YouTube, question about who he should drop. This is an interesting one. Khalil Shakir or Deontay Johnson? trying to open up another spot on the bench or add someone else, perhaps. Which of these guys would you be more
I'm
willing to
biased.
let
I can't
go?
answer this one.
All right. Um, this is interesting because it should be Shakir. The question is, how bad is Bryce Young and the Panthers' passing offense over the course of the season? It can't get much worse than last week. I like Deontay Johnson. Do I think Deontay Johnson is going to win you a league? No. Even when things are clicking. Oh,
Let
man.
me throw this out there. I think Deontay Johnson has a higher ceiling, but the lower floor. I think Shakir is the safer conservative play, but if Bryce Young can utilize Deontay Johnson like the wide receiver one he should on paper be, I think he's the one you got to keep.
Well, theoretically, too, you have some competition for targets there as well. Like Adam Thielen's still there. So, Liam, who are you trying to pick up for one of these guys? Can I ask that? He said it's a 12-man PPR. I can see the argument for dropping Shakir here, too, just because he's owned in, looks like right now on ESPN, basically half of leagues. So that's a guy you might be more easily able to grab back versus someone like Deontay Johnson, who the name brand bias, even with Carolina, I feel like he'd be scooped up pretty quickly, owned in 85% of leagues by the looks right now. So I can see that argument. Uh, I'd be curious to know what the move is for as well. Uh, both those guys, solid receivers if you're debating dropping them in a 12-man PPR. All right, we've got picked up likely and Jordan Mason. Cool. Wouldn't want to drop either one. Need to bring McCaffrey back from IR. Okay.
So
I got you.
I think I pointed out I think I made my thoughts there. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I mean, even in Buffalo, Shakir is going to be competing for targets, and that might be a more difficult room to get targets in because we talk about Kincaid. Coleman looked pretty good last week. Curtis Samuel is right there and should be getting more targets than what he did last week. Matt Collins caught a touchdown
Mm-hmm.
last week. Dawson Knox, that's 5 there. So I mean,
And I think the Bills too want to, run the football. I think more too, especially as the year goes on. I think I've read and seen a lot about that changing philosophy up there with James Cook, Ray Davis. They should be able to do that. I'm going to be an old head here, I feel like, in a way, and I'm going to say I would rather drop Shakir just because I think there's a better chance I can get him back.
I hate saying that, but I think I have to agree with you. I think I talked myself into dropping Shakir, which I think the fact that
Yeah.
this, like it's all there, you have to kind of listen to the homer.
And I feel like I could really be bitten in the ass for that decision, but I'm going to stick with Deontay Johnson a little longer. Maybe Bryce Young is so bad the Panthers go to Andy Dalton, and then what does that do for Deontay Johnson? So that's another caveat that we haven't even discussed that could be
For
thrown
my
in there. So
dynasty sanity, I hope Bryce Young actually becomes something because I just traded away Derek Carr, so it's gonna suck if he's an ass.
yeah, I hear you. May or may not be in the same boat in a league somewhere. Um, you are welcome, sir. Please do subscribe. A bunch of great stuff goes up on here throughout the week. So there's you through it on Tuesdays. They do the rankings show Wednesdays. So all kinds of good stuff. And hey, you can laugh at the Flurry Sports podcast too. Check out our articles over on the website as well. Feel free. We'd love to have you. All right.
All the Flurry Sports podcasts are this stupid too. Don't worry, we're all trying to be funny. We all try to make good points, but in the end, we're just dumbasses.
I don't know if any of them get as stupid as when the two of us get together. I really don't.
That's very true.
We talked about the starts for the running backs in the article. How about we jump into the sits here? Guys, drop your questions in the chat. Keep them coming. We have got another, it looks like, half hour or so before we'll jump off for the Thursday night game. So especially if you have any Bills-Dolphins questions, please feel free to ask away. That's what we're here for tonight. Sits in the running back article that I put together, McAdoo. I'm sitting DeAndre Swift this weekend against the Texans. We talked about that a little bit with the trade involving Caleb Williams. The Bears' offensive line is just not good. I don't think they're going to be good and flip a switch this week. If they weren't good against the Titans, they're not going to be good against the Texans, especially on the road. Swift only mustered 3 yards per carry last week. I'm just out on him right now until I see more. The Texans kept Jonathan Taylor last week as well. Swift most weeks he's clearly the lead back in Chicago, and he's going to be an RB2 consideration. But this week, I just feel like there's guys with better matchups, like a Tony Pollard. That's one that I would say I'd rather have Tony Pollard against the Jets than DeAndre Swift until I see something out of Chicago's offense. The other sit I threw in there was Javonte Williams with the Broncos. Look, to match up with the Steelers goes without saying, but also that's a pretty direct timeshare there, I think. Williams was the lead guy last week, but only 52% of his snaps played. Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't think he's going anywhere. And that game's just going to kind of be a rock fight because it involves the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got anything you want to add, or do you want to call me a dumbass again for one of those two picks?
No, I mean you're right. The Bears' offense is atrocious, or I should say, was atrocious last week, and I think that offensive line was the start of it. I You could probably say every Bear right now is a sit. I don't think that's entirely wrong. Uh, I have to start
I'm
Keenan
gonna
Allen.
I'm gonna play Keenan Allen still. 11 targets. I think the role is fine, but to your point, Cole Kmet, not the guy that he's been in the past as far as tight end options. Rome Odunze, that's still a work in progress. He's a
I,
rookie, so
I still think DJ. Let me rephrase that. DJ Moore is still also a start. I think you have to
DJ
put him
Moore as
in there.
well.
He's probably, I want to say he's one of the best in the league. I think he's at least top 10, and I know that's further than what it should be. But maybe I'll have to get in there and rank them because the NFL players don't even know how to rank their own players because Tyreek Hill's not the best in the league. He's not the best wide receiver in the league.
Who is?
Jay Jettas, come on, what's wrong with you?
I don't know. Reek's pretty good, man. I will say too, Caleb Williams can't be any more inaccurate than he was last week. So maybe some more of those balls actually hit some wide receiver hands even this week, even though the matchup on paper is probably a little tougher. I don't know, but
And that's was it the Tennessee defense that actually played better than what we all thought, or was it that Williams was that bad in his first start?
it might have been a combination of both. I think it's the Bears' offensive line is that bad as well, and they didn't do anything to improve it. Instead, they drafted a third wide receiver. But you can have all the shiny new toys, but it's one of the drums I was beating all off season. Anyways, we can jump over to your wide receiver article as well, since we're talking about receivers here. Fire those questions in the chat, guys. Hit us up. What do you got for week 2? Any decisions, anything looking beyond week 2 that we can help you with? Just let us know. Start sit wide receivers column over at Flurry Sports, written by the one, the only Zach McAdoo. Starting Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, both Bucks top receivers this week against the Detroit Lions. We talked a little Baker Mayfield already, and it looks like you like the receivers this weekend too.
Oh yeah, both of them went for 20 plus against Commanders defense, and this week they're playing a Lions team where Mike Evans absolutely gashed them last time they played them. Cooper Kupp had over 100 yards, and then if you combine the wide receiver 2 yards of Tyler Johnson and Puka Nacua, they both went over for 100 yards together. So I believe that they can do what Godwin and Evans can do what Puka, Tyler Johnson, and Cooper Kupp did last week. It's as if Baker still has his hot hand like he had last week.
Yeah, does the matchup with the Lions scare you at all? That secondary is supposed to be improved. Matthew Stafford and the Rams looked A-OK against it for the most part last week. So any concerns there? It would be Godwin. Obviously, Mike Evans is a start, and you note that, but lumping them together here.
Yeah, I was hoping that no one would say, "Oh, he's just doing that because they're both highly ranked." I mean, I have them both, and I'm starting them both on the same team. That's how confident I am they're going to put
There
up
you
more
go.
points.
There you go. Another start in your article, your other start, Tyler Johnson with the Rams, going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Puka Nacua is out for the next month. You got Johnson in there. You got Demarcus Robinson. We talked some Colby Parkinson with a tight end question off the jump of the show, pretty much. Um, you like Tyler Johnson this week going up against an Arizona defense that I will just say leaves a lot to be desired in terms of overall talent. So it's hard to disagree with you there.
I mean, if you look at it, Buffalo has probably a bottom 3 wide receiver room. Is that fair to say? If not worse.
Did you go that low?
Like, it's probably them and the Chargers fighting for last place.
Denver's pretty bad. Don't disrespect Lad McConkey like that.
Okay, he's a rookie. Forgive me. I do love
I
Brad
get your
McConkey
point,
though.
though.
Even though that piece of shit went to Georgia, I do love him. But it's just the corners did nothing against Keon Coleman. They did nothing against Matt Collins. They did nothing. Like, they stopped Shakir a little bit for the first half, but then the second half, Shakir went off for a little bit. I just don't trust Sean Murphy-Bunting and the other two.
Yeah. I would fully agree with you.
I don't know about the Panthers. Panthers, they're pretty good. It's just their quarterback that is off. The Broncos, they still have Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, but you got 4 competent guys up there in Buffalo. So, do the Broncos
4?
have anyone competent after Cortland Sutton? I don't really know that they do. I think I'm definitely on board with the Broncos. Marvin Harrison Jr. has no Riz, so sure with the Cardinals. The Chargers
Okay,
just
I'll
want to
give
run
you
the
the
ball, so
Broncos.
I don't even think they care.
I'll
Carolina,
give you the Broncos because Josh Reynolds and Devon Vele, whoever the hell that is, probably, if I'm saying that for wide receiver 3, it's a problem. But Marvin Mims should be above him.
yeah.
Cardinals, we don't know. Greg Dortch looked good. MHJ is a question mark still. I still think I'd take MHJ over Keon Coleman.
Depending on the size of your league and your wide receiver situation, Greg Dortch's guy, I'll just throw him out there. Don't be afraid to add him because he has shown a rapport with Kyler Murray over the years. So, Derek, what's up, man? Let's take a look at what you got here with HN starting. Would you keep holding JWJ or drop to add Tyler Johnson or Tank Bigsby? He's got Jalen Wright stashed in the PPR league, JWJ being Jeff Wilson Jr. So you've got both Wilson and Wright behind A-Chain. Would you drop Wilson to add Tyler Johnson or Tank Bigsby? And he follows up here with more of his roster. RBs are Jahmyr Gibbs, A-Chain. Oh, so you have all 3. Okay. David Montgomery, Wilson, and Wright. Wide receivers are Garrett Wilson, I'm assuming, Jaden Reed, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Khalil Shakir. Would you drop Jeff Wilson Jr. or do I dare throw Jalen Wright into the conversation for Tyler Johnson or Tank Bigsby?
Okay, that's fair there, Zach. That's fair. I think Wilson's third on that depth chart, so I would lean right as of right now.
You would keep
I'd keep
both Dolphins running backs?
No, I'd keep Jeff Wilson.
Okay.
And drop Jalen Wright if you're gonna pick someone up.
All right. Would you do that for one of those 2 players, Tank Bigsby, Tyler Johnson?
Definitely not Tank. I'm looking at his wide receivers. Garrett Wilson. It depends. I wouldn't. He's fine in the wide receiver department. So I I don't think he needs Tyler Johnson right now.
It's a toss-up for me as well, kind of. I don't necessarily love, the whole philosophy of, like, this is the Dolphins' backfield, right? This is the annual conundrum of there's so many guys, could go one of so many ways on a weekly basis. So if you just kind of want to unsaddle yourself from having to hold all three of them, I'm all for it. Uh, I think Tyler Johnson's a guy, especially with T. Higgins injury concerns, and we don't even know will he be back this week. Tyler Johnson's a guy you might want to throw in your flex. I don't know. Um, if it's Wilson or Wright, one of the two that I'm going to drop, uh, I would be dropping. I think I would drop Wright before Wilson. I agree with McAdoo there right now. I get the rookie appeal of the stash, unless it's a dynasty. I just don't know that he gets that much run. Like, they've got A-Chain's the guy, Mostert's the guy when he's there, and Wilson and Mostert are kind of more interchangeable with each other. So if Mostert's the guy that's going to be out, I think that they would go to the veteran there in that circumstance with Wilson. So if you're looking right now and you want to do that move, which I fully understand, we just talked about not trusting Deontay Johnson, Khalil Shakir in the Bills receiver room. So I would be on board with dropping Wright for Tyler Johnson if that's the direction you wanted to go. What you got?
I was gonna say, but are we done with this for a second?
Yeah, I think we answered it.
Okay, so before you bring up the next question, bring up the Panthers comment, because let me clarify, because he clipped it took out the context. The Panthers wide receiver room is pretty good. Adam Thielen still has it. Deontay Johnson is decent, I would say, not bad at all. And Xavier, we don't know, and Xavier Leggette's a question mark right now. Just the same with all rookies.
Jonathan Mingo,
Rookie
baby.
wide receivers.
Hotty toddy. You said it, not me, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
This is not my deal. Panthers are pretty good. You heard it here first, and it's the only place you're going to hear it.
This is such dog shit. All right.
You know what's crazy is I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, the Panthers might be the 7th seed this year." Like, this is before the season started. I wonder how that's going right now.
They're not.
Division runs through Baker Mayfield.
Probably right now. I was going to say Falcons, which I'm probably going to lose that bet now. But Kincaid are likely. I think I handled this in my article. I said start likely, stick Kincaid. So
go read Zach McAdoo's article. The wide receiver start sit over on FLURRYSports.org if you want more detail. But yeah, he's going with Isaiah Likely this week for the Ravens against the Raiders, as opposed to Kincaid tonight for the Bills against the Dolphins. Based on what we saw last week and the strength of the two defenses that they're up against, I'm inclined to agree. I'll give you another opinion that you can get from the website. That would be our very own Zach Bruner's fantasy football rankings for week 2. That he has that up in article form as well. He'd be going against you there, and I guess me, McAdoo. He likes Dalton Kincaid to bounce back this week. You want to fight him on it, or do you want to move on?
What am I fighting Bruner on?
He's got Kincaid ranked higher than Isaiah Likely. I was just giving another opinion off FLURRYSports.org.
We'll move on. We'll move on.
All right. So do with that what you will. I think you are a little low on Kincaid, but I can see wanting to go with Likely this week as well. So I think both of them will be pretty solid.
I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into the Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid points average so far.
You know the Bills' offense better than I do, so.
Apparently not, because apparently I thought the wide receiver room was bad, and according to Bruner, there's 4 or 5 teams worse.
Hey, agree to disagree. And no, Kyler Murray can't see downfield, so Greg Dortch is going to soak up targets in the slot, a la Larry Fitzgerald. No, I did not just compare the two. I'm just saying that's
Fitz wasn't a slot until late in his career, though.
Late in his career, man. All right. Where did we leave off here? We are in the wide receiver article. My computer's slowing down. So if I start having issues, I do apologize. You guys have any more questions, drop them in the chat. What do we got here? We got about, we'll do another 10, 15 minutes, then hop off for Thursday night football, Bills, Dolphins. Hope you got your Amazon Prime subscription. We talked about your starts, Tyler Johnson and the Bucks, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I got a Tyler Johnson question as well, so that was cool. Your sits, a guy that has already been brought up on this very stream as well, Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals against the Rams. So I just want to look at something here quick before you dive into this, and that would be the consensus rankings over on Fantasy Pros. ECR still has Marvin Harrison Jr. as a start, a wide receiver 2. He's the wide receiver 18 ranked coming into week 2. Some of the guys listed below him here: DK Metcalf, Drake London, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin as well, who you said you liked this week. Those are the 6 right below him. So I guess, what are you thinking here with Marvin Harrison Jr. that you are willing to, for managers who own him and having spent that draft capital, you're willing to already put him on the bench this week? And I guess, how low would you be willing to go? Is there kind of a receiver name or two that you would be willing to start over him that are kind of on the fringe of consideration for a wide receiver 2? We can answer one thing at a time. Sorry.
So my thing with MHA is a wait and see. But the fact he had 1 reception against the Bills defense, and he had 3 targets, which was less than Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, and James Conner, I think that's a problem going forward as of right now. If it changes this week, so be it. I'll take the loss on this, but after the comments made yesterday, you have to suspect that things aren't so honky dory as everyone had hoped prior to the year. So I would steer clear of Marvin Harrison right now.
Yeah, that could be. It could wind up being a rookie wideout who was way overdrafted when we look back on it in terms of the preseason ADP. That might be a guy that, if he has a decent game at any point, you try to move on from. Of course, that could always flip the script, but I totally hear what you're saying. In terms of how far down this kind of list, I'm just using the ECR rankings to kind of gauge where you're at. Would you start Zay Flowers against the Raiders over Harrison this week?
I probably would. I think Zay Flowers and that Baltimore offense, excuse me, holy crap. They stuck in there with the Chiefs. I think the Raiders probably have a worse defense. And so Zay is probably do, not, I shouldn't say do, but he should have a good game Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Would you start Xavier Worthy over him? Kansas City going up against the Bengals.
I hate this. I gotta say yes, because I think that they kind of forced. I shouldn't say forced the ball to him, but they fed him the ball and it worked. He scored 2 touchdowns. I think he could absolutely do it again this week. Maybe not 2, but at least a touchdown. So
yeah, sure. One more. Terry McLaurin. Would you start him over Marvin Harrison Jr. this week? Washington up against the Giants.
Oh, I was gonna say no, but the Giants intrigues me actually. Because it did not seem like Jaden Daniels was having a good day throwing the ball last week. Didn't he have like 2 rushing touchdowns?
I just know that there was a lot of check down passing going on, and no receiver did much of anything because he was spreading it around, and the ball was mostly not even being thrown more than 5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
So I probably am going to just stick with MHJ in this one.
Okay.
That Commanders offense is. I was high on Jaden Daniels going into the year. It's just I don't want to start any of them yet. I might have to start Eckler this week though, so there's that.
Got an extra spot on your roster, Luke McCaffrey, man. Pick him up. Especially in Dynasty if he's somehow available, not drafted as a rookie. if it's a shallower league or whatever. That's interesting because, as I said, Harrison's ranked 18th in the ECR. Terry McLaurin's all the way down at 32 going into week 2. So, but you had to think about it. So that's kind of showing where McAdoo's at on Harrison, and I'm certainly down on him as well. I think there's good reason for people to be down on him right now. We've got about 10 minutes left. So if you guys have any other questions, start, sit, fantasy football, relating to Thursday night football, or week 2 in general, we're happy to answer them. Toss them up in the chat. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. It has been fun. Good to be back on the airwaves with you, McAdoo. We will finish up your wide receiver article. You got one more sit here to go over, and that is George Pickens with the Steelers against the Denver Broncos. So this is an interesting one. Russell Wilson, I guess, is still questionable. We don't know what's going on there. Steelers somehow win again last week. Mike Tomlin's so awesome. I can't believe Steelers fans hate this guy. Like, I get it. You want to rebuild and you want a quick fix, but damn it, you win games and you go to the playoffs every year. The dude's awesome. And the defense is
want rid
awesome.
of McDermott too, so it's the fact that you're not getting anywhere is the problem. Like, yeah, you get to the playoffs, but you're not getting to the goal of the Super Bowl.
I'd take Tomlin as a coach over McDermott any day. What more do you have to say over George Pickens?
So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. Justin Fields, I love Justin Fields, but he has not thrown the ball efficiently in the league yet. It's always been run. That's not going to help George Pickens get points. So also, if you look at the other side of the ball, he's going to go up against Patrick Surtain II. I don't know about you, but he's pretty good at football. He's probably one of the best in the league. And he's
got a fat contract to prove it, too.
Yeah. Patrick Surtain is going to be on Pickens most of the day. So I'm just steering clear of George Pickens this week because Justin Fields is, like we said, a running quarterback first, and Surtain is just insane on the other side of the ball.
I hear you. Pickens, according to the ECR, wide receiver 29 this week. So he is outside that, your top 24 that would designate wide receiver 2s. Would you start Keenan Allen over George Pickens this week?
Bears, Texans, I probably would.
Okay. Would you start Jaden Reed over him?
Yes.
The Packers development.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, they have Malik Willis, not Love.
Malik Willis has never thrown for 100 yards in a game he started in his career.
Again, I feel like it's another run first quarterback. Who are the Packers playing?
The Colts.
I probably wouldn't. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I'd have to start Pickens there.
Yeah, and I think because, well, they're both backup quarterbacks technically. I would probably stick with Pickens here.
Yeah. So that's kind of your cutoff. Jaden Reed's the wide receiver 35 versus Pickens the 29 in the ECR. So just throwing some names out there at you. Still no other questions. Last chance, guys. If you got anything.
2-minute warning.
Yep. Zach, what are you keeping an eye on in week 2 from a fantasy football standpoint in terms of players, teams? What things are you watching closely? What developments are you tracking going into the week that may impact start-sit decisions as we get down to kickoff on Sunday?
It's tough to say right now because no respect for it's not Jaden Reed, it's Malik Willis. That's the point. Like I have no faith in Malik Willis. What is he didn't do anything in Tennessee that made me believe in him. That's why they, like, the next year after his rookie season, they went out and got Will Levis. And Levis, too early. I'm too early. But probably, I want to look at the quarterbacks. I want to look Is Baker still going to ride that hot hand and go with his his dynamic duo? Is Caleb, is he going to be anything yet to help DJ Moore? And isn't Jordan Love hurt?
It's a great question.
Are we playing Jeopardy?
What is Jordan Love, anyways? Let's all take 5 seconds of silence and think about that for a second.
Jordan Love is hurt. He has an MCL sprain. I don't think he's coming back. Not
That
too
wasn't
early
5
11.
seconds.
It's been a year. You can't.
He's not good, dude. He's not good.
I don't care. He helped Tennessee beat Miami last year. That's all I care about.
So you're watching the quarterbacks. Were you finished with talking about your week 2 outlooks?
Yeah, that was it. Quarterbacks helping the players, my players out. Then you need to see who is good on wide receiver, tight ends.
Fair enough. One thing I'm definitely going to be watching is the Raiders' backfield. We talked about that a little bit. Zamir White, Alexander Mattison. How does that evolve after, Mattison definitely outperformed him, got more work last year? Is that a game script thing because the Raiders were trailing? Probably going to be trailing again, at least you would think. So that's something to keep an eye on for me. Injuries, we got T. Higgins up in the air. Malik Neighbors popped up as limited today. Christian McCaffrey obviously is a big one. I like Jordan Mason, whether McCaffrey's active or not. We talked about that. So some stuff there. In terms of games on the schedule, I want to see if either Washington or the Giants can get it going against the other, just because I like subjecting myself to awful teams playing against each other sometimes. So that's one I'm going to have my eye on. And
just wait till Germany. Just wait till Germany.
Yeah, no kidding. And then let's see, what's another one? I'll throw out Browns Jaguars as well as a game that kind of flying under the radar. Deshaun Watson, Browns offensive line, that's a mess. We touched on that. Jaguars defense actually held up pretty well last week early on against Miami before the wheels came off there. So you're going to be looking at that. How does the Browns defense perform? Can Trevor Lawrence do something? I feel like Trevor Lawrence is in a way, he's the meme where the guy has the stick and he's poking the pebble on the ground saying, do something. And I don't think it's ever really going to happen. I don't. I'm out on Trevor Lawrence, I think, in a lot of ways as being anything. And he's showing that the ceiling just doesn't go much higher than it was when he was at Clemson, almost in a way. So
right.
I'll be watching that, though. Jags receiver room is interesting if he can get it going.
Let me end this stream on this question.
Someone please ask a question so it doesn't end. That would be hilarious.
Is Deshaun Watson a better person or football player? That is the question that I've heard a lot this week. Yeah, Trevor, isn't it Trevor Bank Stadium instead of Everbank? But which is stupid in its own right. But
Are you going to answer your question? The world's waiting to know.
I have to say he's a better football player. I don't know how you do 26 times what he did and still expect him to be the better person, but the fact of the matter is,
again, by the way.
Yeah, he's got 27 now, which he didn't disclose this one, which this might be the Browns out.
Jameis time's coming, man. Famous Jameis.
Is he any better? I mean,
he's so much better.
Didn't he have an allegation and didn't he steal crab legs?
It's fucking crab legs, dude. You mean you haven't gone to the local supermarket and accidentally forgot to pay for crab legs on a Friday night? Come on.
Come on. Bum-ass field. Okay.
He was in college.
Trevor Lawrence is not that bad.
The NFL is better with Jameis Winston in it. Let's hope the Browns just eat the money and get Winston back out there soon. I need it. It'll make Sundays more fun. Make Sundays fun again. The other thing I will say, too, is Deshaun Watson has this new allegation coming up, so that could be a way down the road that the Browns get out of that contract. Like if he is suspended, so that would be massive. So that is worth something worth keeping an eye on as that develops. Hearing stuff about that the other day, so all that money guaranteed and everything. And if there is a suspension for something like that, things could get thrown haywire, and maybe the franchise gets bailed out of the crap they signed up for. Zach, you got anything else? Kickoff is minutes away.
No, I gotta go. We gotta end this. Come on.
All right. Everybody enjoy Thursday Night Football. Check out all the content, all the fantasy football stuff over at flurrysports.org. I'm sure there'll be a few more things going up before the weekend. You got streamers for all the positions, running back, wide receiver, defense. You got waiver wire ads. Maybe check those and see if any of them are still available after waivers have run, and you can just scoop them up if they fit. Make your roster better. You got Bruner's rankings, and you got the start sit columns that we discussed here tonight. If you want to read those more in depth as well, please head on over, check it all out. Subscribe to the YouTube. Great stuff goes up on here just about every day. Check out the sports trivia videos too. The music is addicting, and that's what hooks me in, I feel like, every day. So that'll do it for us. Thank you for hanging out. It's been a blast, and we will see you back here next week. I'm not going to say it, so you can say it.
Go Bills.